Back here, first things first, with Eric Mangini. Hey, Coach.
Good morning.
Welcome to Tuesday.
Thanks. Good to be here.
What's up, C?
How are you, C?
I was just telling funny stories during the break.
Coach was talking about getting punked on the sideline.
not about him getting punked on the sideline, about coaches can't let it happen. I'm talking about Jalen Ramsey.
No punking last night. Monday Night Football starring the Jets and the Browns.
Jets kind of got
the
punked, Jenna.
The Jets got punked?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Well, that happened when the season started. And while the Browns didn't exactly blow away a depleted Jets team, OBJ played great in his return to New York. An amazing one-handed catch we saw, then this, his first touchdown as a Brown, a career-long 89-yard score, finished with 6 catches for 161 yards. Browns win 23-3. They improved to 1-1 in the season, but Baker Mayfield knows there is much more work to be done.
Not losing sight of that a win is a win, especially on the road, and we needed this one. But, you know, field goals early on, we'll take points, but at the same time, we need to be able to finish those drives. And so, yeah, we need to play better. A little frustrating at times. I think, you know, I'll be able to look at this film and get a lot better from it.
Is it more joy or relief for the Browns tonight?
That's a great question. I don't even think I know the answer to that. I think we're just happy to get a win. I think we're happy to, you know, we came out and had a terrible home opener, and you know, everyone was talking about us, and Coach Freddie was just talking about how we're going to see what kind of team we are after this, and who's really going to ride with you. And you know, we didn't play our best game, but we hung in there. We fought. We made the plays we needed, and we seen sparks and glimpses of what this team could be. Now we have to get right back to it.
It was a good question. Should the Browns feel more joy or more relief after getting the win? But look who the win was over. Should the Browns be encouraged, though, at least by picking up the W last night, Coach?
Yeah, they should be encouraged. I mean, they didn't have the most penalties since 1951. that's a real good starting point.
Yeah, Coach.
They were only in the top 10 with 9 penalties, so that's a positive. And they beat the Jets, which is, you know, on their third-string quarterback. Now, that guy did come in, Luke Falk, and go 20 for 25 for a 98 quarterback rating. That's pretty good for being on the practice squad, never being active for a game, walking into a game and having a higher quarterback rating than Baker. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to be encouraged by. They were able to get out of it with the win. You know, Odell was productive on the slant, you know, a 3-yard pass that they missed a tackle and he went for 98, I'm sure.
89.
Or 89, you're putting him in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, no, best receiver in the game.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, he kind of said a little.
This is a coach.
The thing that's encouraging is they have tempoed down the constant hype and the expectations, and all that stuff came back crashing to earth. They need to improve the penalties. That has got to get better. They're not going to be in a situation like they were week in and week out. They go on a really tough stretch here, and if they don't play much better, consistent football, they're going to have real problems. And that means controlling turnovers, controlling penalties, controlling self-inflicted wounds, controlling egos, and controlling what they can, you know, control.
So a couple things. One is, I know you were tongue planted firmly in cheek with your initial analysis of at least, particularly on the penalties. One point of clarification should be noted. They had 9 penalties. 2 of those were intentional. They were where they was try to draw you off sides, take the delay of game. So they went from 18 penalties to really 7 penalties in the football game, which is improvement. 7's probably 6 more than you would find.
But you can look at the week before,
acceptable.
And there were several penalties that were declined.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we're going to play that game.
But that's kind of my point is, so that last week they could have actually had 20 plus. This week they legitimately had 7, so that is improvement. And I mean, we can find a way to minimize what Odell Beckham did yesterday. To me, that's an A-plus player who had an A-plus game. He started the game off with a brilliant catch that one of only maybe 3 human beings alive could make, and he ended the game with a play that, yeah, it is a 3-yard slant where a guy missed a tackle. A lot of guys miss tackles on 3-yard slants that don't end in 89-yard touchdowns because a player doesn't have the top-end speed that Odell Beckham has. And this was the play that iced the football game. Now, to your point that the Browns are far from a finished product, I thought some of the play calling late in the game was foolish. When you have a 20-point lead on a third-string quarterback, why Baker's dropping back when he's constantly under duress. He got sacked in a game with 2:05 left where you're up 20. Why are you should never be sacked in that spot. You should never be passing in that spot. The offensive line, which, I know you're concerned about, was your biggest concern for them going into the year, continues to look leaky. But on the other side of the ball, you can't control what the talent level of your opposition is. But holding the opposition to 3 points is one tick away from the best you can possibly do defensively. So we have to give them credit there. And I said it earlier, I'll say it again. The Browns have 2 known quantity A-plus players. Beckham on one side, Myles Garrett on the other. And they both showed up in an enormous way yesterday in a game that, while it was ugly, they had to win. If they had lost to the Jets, no matter who the Jets quarterback is, and fallen to 0-2, especially with the schedule they have coming up, the sky would justifiably be falling in Cleveland. So it was a necessary win that they got rather easily.
Dennis Green used to tell me this all the time. And he was like, I expect my best players to play at their best in the toughest situations. And he said, I don't expect my best players to have mental mistakes and to have penalties. And it's not like people think, well, oh, he just got 1 penalty. Well, it depends on when it was and who it is. Is it preventable? On 3rd down, when you get a penalty, it's a possession. It's the most important down in football. And the way Myles Garrett is going at it as far as roughing these passers, it's something that he's got to get better at. He could have 20 sacks this year, but you can't continue put your defensive teammates at risk because you're being selfish. He's a smart football player. You doesn't have to continue to lift the quarterback, dump the quarterback. Those are going to be called all the time. The refs watch the tape. So then you start to develop a reputation. In the first 2 weeks of the season, those 15-yard penalties on 3rd down, that when you start giving teams life like that, then other guys on the team say, well, he got one and I can get one. No. It's an immature football team. They're not used to winning. He's got to get better, and Baker's got to get better. Since week number 4 when he took over, last season he's thrown 18 interceptions, which leads the NFL. So forget about the rest of the team. I'm not going to, belittle Odell's accomplishments because it's really not the conversation. It's about, are they going to get to their goals? And if these 2 players don't play at their best, Myles Garrett, he should be considered for defensive MVP. He should be considered for getting 20 sacks this season, and Baker's got to be able to clean up the turnovers. I covered the game last week, and you have 2 guys in 2 different spectrums when we started the season. Baker, who we thought was a proven passer, and Lamar, who couldn't pass the football. And now where are they? I'm not going to say where they are, but the confidence that Lamar and the coaching staff have is totally different than what Baker and those interceptions being and being so turnover prone.
How much of what Baker's going through is on him, and how much of it is that offensive line?
Well, so it's a little bit of both. And when you look at an offensive line, you have to look at where the quarterback is. And this happens all the time. The offensive line is anticipating you to be at a certain spot, and they block accordingly. When you start to move in the pocket, the D-line sees where the quarterback moves. The offensive line doesn't. So the defensive line gains an advantage if you move to the right or the left. That's why you see guys like Tom Brady or some more seasoned guys, they step up because it allows the offensive line to maintain their blocks. So, yeah, there is some component of the Browns' offensive line, but there's also some component of the quarterback. I thought last night, and look, I'm being a little bit hard on Cleveland. They did a great job stopping Le'Veon Bell. That was the first thing they had to do, okay? I did think that the Jets gave you a little bit more of a blueprint on how to confuse Baker. There was a lot of pre-snap disguise. There was a lot of times where the clock was running down because they couldn't quite figure out where to go with the ball. There was a lot of times where they went to like a quick slant because they expected pressure, but it wasn't that. So I think that's something that's going to be taken away. The backup quarterback component of this, the Luke Falk component of this, is a concern too. When a guy comes off the practice squad and goes 20 for 25 in a game, it's either there's some issues with the defense, or maybe this guy's really good. He was drafted 199, the same exact spot as Tom Brady.
Can I
maybe this is some great occurrence for the Jets.
Can I give you an alternative?
It shouldn't be those numbers.
A third option, which was other than concern or that he's really good. A lot of those completions, the Jets were in 3rd and 15 plus all night, and a lot of those completions it's 3rd and 17, and you want want to throw it 8 yards? No problem. We're then going to rally to the ball. I mean, this is a Jets team that had negative 15 passing yards at halftime, and then the Browns were in something of a prevent defense the rest of the way. So, and 10 of those completions were to Le'Veon Bell, where the ball does not travel past the line of scrimmage. So, to me,
before Odell's touchdown, if the Jets had gone in and scored, if they'd converted on that 4th and 2, you're actually in a game.
It's 16-10, and you're in a game.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're in a real game.
But you do then to me, you
so
give
they're in prevent at that point.
Well, no. I shouldn't have. I'm not saying they were in prevent the whole second half. My point was, on a lot of these 3rd and super longs, that's where the completions came, and they were in a modified prevent's probably not the right word for it, but whatever coverage you would call it.
Yeah, very soft coverage. I don't think the coaches in Cleveland left this and said, you know something, we got this all the way turned around.
Agreed.
There's still a bunch of holes. This is still a young football team. Baker's still a young football. Every time he goes out there, he's going to see something new. It's not like he's been playing 20 seasons. So they have to get better, and that's what that's the mentality. If they're looking for the easy way